Detroit Lions fans. Detroit Den 313 back with another one. Stephen Will here, ready to talk some Detroit Lions football. But before we get going, you know what to do. Bang that subscribe button. We're getting around 100, just over 100 people away from that big time giveaway. So get us to that 10K so we can give you guys a bunch of shit. But let's get to the business, Steve. Big day for Detroit Lions football. Lay it on the table for the people.
Free agency started today. First and foremost, Will, we were out here just blind, all right, to start free agency with Twitter going down. Both of us stuck at work. We were just, I thought we were going to have like a carrier pigeon or something come deliver our news to us today because we had no access to Twitter, X, whatever you guys want to call it. But we were just sitting there waiting, trying to hear through the grapevine. I unfortunately had to turn on the radio and listen to some ESPN to see if anything was going on with the Detroit Lions. But it came back just in time for the Detroit Lions to go out and sign Mr. DJ Reader from the New York Jets, William. This is after losing Carlton Davis to the New England Patriots. So let's start with that. Carlton Davis got a $60 million contract, 3 years, coming out to an average of $20 million a year. Do you think that the Lions made the right move of letting him walk and go right to free agency?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, we did. I just can't see paying a guy who doesn't play full seasons $20 million a season. I just don't envision a way that he plays 80% of those games, over those 3 years. So I think he got 3 years, $60 million, $20 million a season. For me, it just doesn't make sense. And I don't want to take credit for this. I thought about it, but I seen somebody tweet it, so I'm going to give flowers. I can't remember who tweeted it out, but they said it reminded them of Jamal Williams when Jamal Williams wanted more money, and then we fell upon David Montgomery. I
saw that tweet too.
Yeah, in our podcast about free agent must-haves, DJ Reed was my must-have. I really wanted DJ Reed real bad. Love his game. I've loved his game for a long time. I feel like he's out there or was out there with Sauce Gardner, and he just kind of got lost in the wash because everybody is so enamored with Sauce Gardner, and he's a lockdown corner, and he's the best corner in the league, some say, and yada, 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 yada. DJ Reed got looked over. DJ Reed reminds me of Amik Robertson. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He plays physical, loves to tackle. I would deem him an offensive player that happens to play defense, just like Amik Robertson says that he is. Ball hawk, wants to punch at footballs. Having two of those guys, Steve, really excites me. So I don't think that we, by any means, made a bad decision. If anything, Carlton Davis made a tough decision, easy for us. So throwing it back at you, how do you feel about the situation?
I kind of saw this coming when the Panthers signed J.C. Horn to like some crazy astronomical number of the Carolina Panthers, and he kind of set the market for free agency corners this year. And I said, well, I think if he's getting that, then Carlton's probably going to want around 20 to 23, and he landed at 20. So I wasn't really surprised. I was like, I don't think Brad's going to pay $20 million for a guy that can't play a full season. But I see a lot of people throwing some shade at Carlton Davis for skipping town. Look, I don't blame him. I think he played good football when he was here. He got banged up at the end of the season. We never had to do a show about Carlton Davis and that he played bad or that he, was stinking it up. So he won his Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. He came to Detroit, tried to, on a trade. Maybe he didn't want to be here. Maybe it was just a 1-year rental in his mind from the beginning. New England wanted to throw a large amount of money at him. Hey, man, I don't blame you. You got your Super Bowl ring. You're a Super Bowl champion. It can't be taken away from you. Get your money. Set yourself up for life. I'm not mad at it. But I do think that comparison with Jamal Williams and David Montgomery is very, very accurate. I do think we upgraded this position. I do think that there's little to if anything at all, there's nothing I don't like about DJ Reed's game. Tackles, physical, corner, he's sticky. I saw some PFF grades where he was in like the 87th, 90th percentile for some coverage stuff. If you guys care about PFF, my feelings are a little mixed sometimes. I think it's a little skewed, but my only concern was, I told you, was his height. Hey, he's 5'9". It's okay. We're going to go out. We're going to run out two corners. So we're going to be sticking to some of these wide receivers, and we're going to play tough physical football. We'll find a way to make it work. I'm not overly concerned. I just said I don't really know if I really want Amik at 5'9" on one side and and DJ Reed on the other side at 5'9". I thought, we could get big body, but it's okay. I think that this is a massive upgrade. We got the best possible corner in the free agent market to come play for the Detroit Lions. And we stole one from Aaron Glenn. Stole one. I don't know how AG let him out of the building, if we're being honest. A former defensive back for the New York Jets should know, got to build the secondary. That's my expertise. So I know he still got Sauce Gardner, but he let DJ Reed right out the building and to come back to the team that he just left to coach somewhere else. I think we absolutely stole from Aaron Glenn. Well, how do you feel?
I tell you what, man. I think it was due to the writing already being on the wall and the relationship not being there yet. I don't think that there's any way that we get DJ Reed if he had a season under AG. I just got so much respect for AG and how he coaches those guys and how the players talk about him. I'm just thankful that things ended up working out how they did for us. And yeah, I think we stole a dog, man. We stole a dog. So I know he did sign who was it, Oladipo or whatever, Adibo or whatever. Yeah, I think he did signed one today. So yeah, he replaced him fairly quickly, but I think he kind of knew that the writing was on the wall, and DJ kind of wanted to get out of there. But hey, man, one man's trash is another man's treasure, so they say. Let's get after it in Detroit. I'm interested to see how this thing unfolds. You mentioned it a little bit. I'm gonna lean into it a little bit more. Are we going to see Amik Robertson, who's been playing out of his mind, and DJ Reed outside? Are we going to see Terry and Arnold maybe play a little bit of nickel? Are we going to see DJ Reed play a little bit of nickel? I know that's something that they've tried before, but he deems himself and looks at himself as a number one corner. And he's, I would imagine, coming to Detroit to be the number one corner and not a nickel. We paid him accordingly, so we didn't pay him like a nickel corner. So I would expect he's going to be out there and be the number one corner. So I wonder who is going to play that nickel, man. I'm very interested in it. I kind of have an interest in seeing Terry and Arnold there, man, because he's a good tackler. I feel like he plays physical. I feel like his physicality is underrated, to be honest. And I like the thought of a bigger guy covering those slot receivers, potentially ending up on a tight end. What do you think about maybe Terry on bumping from outside to playing some nickel corner?
We got some options. I mean, we didn't even mention Brian Branch, how we can move him around a little bit. So we got some good options in our secondary. I think our secondary room is upgraded just from today. Who knows what happens in the draft or the rest of free agency. We'll look at some other names that are still floating around. But I think today, if we started the season with this being our defensive back room, I like it. He's getting paid as number one corner. So he's got to come in here and play corner, I think, automatically. I think the fight is going to be for Amik Robertson and Terry and Arnold to see who's going to play that second corner spot. But I think both of those guys are selfless and they'll play wherever they need to play. I think Kelvin Shepard and the defensive coordinators or the defensive staff have a tough job ahead of them this year. But hey, iron sharpens iron, Will. So whoever comes out and wins the battle, it could be a game by game basis where maybe we're switching it up, because I was watching some film today on DJ Reed and some of the things he was doing against Justin Jefferson. Very similar to what Amik Robertson was doing to him a couple years ago when he was with the Raiders. So we're playing tit for tat with some teams in our division, and I think we match up very well. Well, don't let us beef up these trenches, though. Just don't let us get into some pass rushers to really, really make these secondary guys have easier jobs than they already do, because we got all-pro Kirby Joseph. We got Brian Branch, who's a problem. I think Terran Arnold's going to take a massive step in year two. Amik Robertson really, really, really came on strong at the end of the season until he got hurt in the playoff game. Now you add a DJ Reed. I'm gonna call him DJ Reader a lot of times. So let me just get people ready for it. If I say DJ Reader during this episode, bear with me. All right, it's pretty close. But our secondary, man, we got some guys who could play different positions. So I'm curious to see. Like I said, we could throw out a secondary rotation 1 week, and then 2 weeks later, we could see something completely different. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen. But I do think that the consistent factor will be DJ Reed playing number one corner.
I'm interested to see Ennis Rakestraw and what he does this season. He put out a tweet today, excuse me, that he said, listen, I'm going to make a name for myself this season. Watch and see. I don't know, man. We could be deep. We could be deep at that position. Excuse me while I die. Sorry.
This weather change, it's getting both of us.
But I will say, I do remember training camp last year when people were saying that Ennis Rakestraw was looking better in coverage than Terry and Arnold. So if he comes back this year, he said he's healthy. Said he's healthy, and said he's feeling the best that he's felt in a long time. We could again take a weakness and turn it into a strength. But uh leaning into some of the things that I saw on Twitter today and some of the feelings that even I had personally in a day of free agency, and I put out a tweet earlier that said, hey, listen, it feels like this is Christmas morning, and with Brad Holmes as my GM, he's Grinch is my dad on Christmas morning. And there ain't no gifts getting open. Not too many gifts getting open today. You know what I mean? While I'm watching teams like the Chicago Bears just open gift after gift after gift after gift. Oh, I got another one. Oh, I got another one. Oh, I got another one. I'm watching the Washington Commanders, a team that beat up on us. They're opening a bunch of Christmas gifts. I only got one box. Now, granted, it was a good gift. It was a good gift, but a lot of my buddies at school, man, they're telling me about all the gifts that they got, man. So leaning into that, Steve, does it bother you? Does it worry you that we only made one move today?
No, free agency is the rest of the season up until really the draft and even a little bit after. I like how you're comparing it to Christmas presents because, hey, some teams might have got more Christmas presents, but do you want to open up a bag of socks? Do you want to open up a bag of underwear? Because Brad Holmes went out today and he parked a Lamborghini in our driveway. So I'll take my one Christmas gift over, the socks, the underwear, the boxers, the little stocking stuffer toys. I'll take my Lamborghini in the driveway. Well, I think my one gift is bigger than it's about quality, not quantity. You ever heard that before? Because that's what I think Brad Holmes did. I think he went out and got something we needed. Now the Bears, yeah, they made some moves. Mm-hmm. There's more moves for us to have too. There's still some defensive linemen out there. They're bolstering up their trenches because they know they're chasing the Detroit Lions. They're chasing the number one offensive line in football. They know that the Lions are going to address the defensive line, if not within the next week, for sure in the NFL draft. Or I know some people are still calling for a Trey Hendrickson trade, but I think we closed the chapter on some people today that kind of stung a little bit. Is there any names out there from the defensive line that you feel like we, or maybe you're a little disappointed we didn't get? Maybe one guy in particular that I already know kind of about?
Listen, I can't think of one person that I'm disappointed that the Detroit Lions didn't get, because when you're not a Detroit Lion and you choose a team that is a loser instead of coming to a winner, I forget about you. What do they say? The Men in Black, the little blinky thing. I just erase you for my brain. So yeah, I don't even know anything that rhymes with Smet or anything like that. Yeah, no, never heard of them. No, man, I'll be honest. There was a little bit of disappointment there. I've seen a couple of people tweeting out talking about that the Lions were in conversations, and then things kind of died. And the next thing you know, I see him signing with the Arizona Cardinals. A guy that went from talking about taking a pay cut to stay potentially with the Philadelphia Eagles because he wanted to go after championships, and then going from the Eagles to them not being able to pay him, which is something that I read multiple times, that they weren't going to be able to pay him even a pay cut. Like they wouldn't even be able to pay him something that was fair. To watching Brad Holmes clear some money, obviously be having some conversations behind the scenes, and then him choose to go to the Arizona Cardinals, who I don't think is going to compete for a Super Bowl. I don't know, man. It kind of lets me know the type of state. I'm not going to say the type of person or player he is, but it lets me know where he's at in his mindset right now. And his mindset right now must have been, hey, let me go get that bag and more focused on that and providing for his family. I can't knock it. He has to do what he has to do for his family, but it was disappointing to see. And I got to focus on these guys that are Detroit Lions. So, Steve, were you disappointed? How you feel about it?
I was disappointed for you. I don't like to see my little William get his heart broken on Christmas morning any more than he already got today. I would have liked Josh Sweat, but I didn't want to ride your coattail. That was your guy. So I kind of latched on to another guy. I was kind of disappointed in Malcolm Kuntz from the Raiders. I thought we might have a real shot at him. I thought he fit the category of a Brad Holmes guy coming off an injury, young, give him a 1-2 year prove it deal. He ended up signing back with the Raiders for about the price I would have been willing to pay him. I think he got $12 million. That was right in the neighborhood of what I think I said. So I was a little disappointed we didn't get him. I think if we could leave this free agency period with another either D tackle or a defensive end, and I know that it's kind of slim pickings now, but just going into that draft, I feel like we could start using the word like luxury, rotational, depth pieces. But I'm looking at the draft, and I still think that there's plenty of people that we love, and there's still some guys in free agency. Like I think Azeez Ojulari still out there. There's a handful of others that Brad Holmes might try to snag, but I don't really see anyone as like a real, hey, let's sprint to the Super Bowl and get in line and buy our tickets right now if we sign these guys. But I think we could really build a really, really, really solid defense with some guys coming off injury, another free agency signing, adding DJ Reed, and going out and getting 2 or 3 more pass rushers in the draft. And I think we'll be right there. So I'm not worried. Brad Holmes could have done nothing today, and I still would have been happy. So I know people get on Twitter and they're like, oh, man, it's free agency starts at 12. At 12:01, people are expecting news. Like, that's just not how it works. Like, I was actually kind of surprised that anything happened for the Lions today. I thought it might be like later tonight or tomorrow. I didn't know what we were going to be able to talk about today, but here we are. Some news fell into our lap, and it's a great signing, and I'm happy, but I still think that there's a little bit of work to do. But William, this draft is just all I'm thinking about, because I think that's where the real step is going to be for the Lions, taking that Super Bowl leap.
Yeah. I'm locked into the draft as well, but I'm sitting pretty tough in this free agency right now. I had a strong feeling that the corner situation had to get figured out today, because I knew people would be vying for those guys, and there would be some kind of a bidding war that would go on. That being said, is there anybody starting with Detroit Lions? And the Detroit Lions that I have on my board here, and if I miss anybody, feel free to add them. But Tim Patrick, right, Kevin Zeitler, Levi Onwuzurike, Patrick O'Connor, Ife Melifonwu, right? And I believe I said Tim Patrick. I believe.
Yeah, you did.
Any of those guys are they guys that you want back?
Zeitler, Zeitler, and I would like Patrick back. Zeitler's been my number one since free agency started. I said, man, you got to keep the strength of the team, the offensive line intact. All right, I really like Mahogany. I think that there's a role where if you re-sign Zeitler, you can still start Christian Mahogany, and maybe Graham Glasgow kind of takes a back seat and becomes that backup role, or there could be some shuffle in there. But for what we have with Jared Goff and his contract and what he's capable of doing, the number one priority on offense has to be keeping him healthy and taking pressure off him. So if that's signing Kevin Zeitler, I think that's the most important thing. But if he decides to either retire or go somewhere else on a 1-year deal and chase it somewhere else, that's up to him. But I would like to personally see Kevin Zeitler back. What about you?
I would love to see Kevin Zeitler back. I would love for Christian Mahogany to get another year under his belt, seeing how an all-pro Pro Bowler gets it done, and just preparing himself for the league. I feel like last year he showed some glimpses, but he was sick or had whatever he had going on for a lot of the season, wasn't available. So I like for him to get a full season healthy under his belt. Maybe we see a passing of the torch rather than him just getting thrust into the fire and being the guy this year. So, I would love to see Kevin Zeitler get another 1-year deal.
Do you have anyone off the top of your head that's a free agent still as we're recording that you would like to see the Detroit Lions land?
First things first, staying in the house, I really want Ife Melifonwu back, just because I think he offers so much positional versatility. He can be that guy that blitzes off of the edge. He's a phenomenal blitzer, man. I don't think we got an opportunity to see it last year because he was so banged up, but he's a guy that we originally drafted to be a corner, so he offers that too. I think he could be a big nickel on certain situations, certain certain game plans against certain tight ends. If you're going against a guy like Kelsey or Kittle or somebody like that, he can come play big nickel and cover those guys and support in the run game. So I like that aspect of it. And just more depth to our secondary, man, without us having to add somebody in a draft. So I think if you figure out a way to sign Ife Melifonwu to something that's fair, I know he's oftentimes banged up, so he's got to take some concessions on that contract too, because hey, the most important ability is availability. It's been said for years and years and years. So he's got to come to terms with the fact that he hasn't been available. Got to cut something off that price when you're not available. Yeah. So if he does that, I would love to have him back, man. And then I could pretty much be done with the secondary for the most part. We're going to add some depth pieces here and there, but big name guys, I would be good going into the season. You're telling me we got Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Ife Melifonwu, DJ Reed, uh, Terry and Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, and hate to keep bashing his name, but I don't have to look at Kendall Vildor. I would be very happy knowing that I got a couple of guys in reserves before I'm looking at guys that I took off of somebody's practice squad, man. So Ife Melifonwu was somebody that's important to me. But then going through that list, the guys that I kind of have down, um, I still haven't got off the Zadarius Smith train. I think that was something that Brad Holmes got off of the books immediately because it saved him $11 million. I think Zadarius Smith is dating a rapper from Detroit, right? He's in Detroit. He loves Detroit. He wants to be in Detroit. So I'm not off of the bandwagon until I see him signing somewhere that he might entertain coming back to Detroit and renegotiating a deal, man. So I'm still on Zadarius Smith, 9-sack guy last year. Like if he's a rotational piece for us, I'd be happy. Uh Joey Bosa's still out there. Now, I do believe that Joey Bosa is a guy that's going to go play with his brother. But if for some reason he doesn't go play with his brother, whether it's the 49ers aren't down with it or can't make it work, or he just would rather come to Detroit because he feels like we're closer to winning the Super Bowl, that would be something that I would be willing to entertain too. Kind of the similar as Khalil Mack on a 1-year deal. He's got to prove that he can play and stay healthy for the season. And that would excite me, man, having Marcus Davenport and Bosa opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Then we got a guy that we can draft in free or not free agency in the NFL draft. So that would give that whoever that player is an opportunity to kind of slowly get eased into being a guy, because picking at pick 28 isn't the same as picking at pick 1, 2, or in the top 5. That top 5 guy is supposed to be ready to go week 1, right? Pick 28, hey, he might not be ready. He still to me should be a guy who's going to play that year, but maybe he's a rotational piece that builds his way up to a starter, or maybe that's a guy who doesn't start until the middle of the season. You know what I mean? So I think that those could be 2 guys, man, that I would really be entertained in. Would you be interested in Zadarius coming back on a cheaper deal or Bosa coming to Detroit?
Why not? Both. I mean, I like a lot of free agents. I think Marcus Davenport's still a name, or not Marcus Davenport. DeMarcus Lawrence is still a name that's floating around out there. I think he's still available. I think if we signed 2 of those guys, and those are you can make an argument on who's starting, and maybe it's Aiden Hutchinson and Zadarius Smith are your starting defensive ends, and your second string defensive ends is a Joey Bosa and a DeMarcus Lawrence, a little speed and a little power on both waves. And then you add some D tackles in the draft. William, what are we doing here? We got waves of pass rushers. It's what we've been talking about. A pass rush frenzy. Like, you don't get any breaks when you're on the offensive line. You're dealing with the same caliber of player on the first string. Aiden Hutchinson's obviously, leagues abound, everyone else at this point in his career. But I think if you're trotting out a Zadarius Smith, a DeMarcus Lawrence, and a Joey Bosa as your rotational defensive ends, good luck. I mean, just good luck, because I think that opens up a lot of different possibilities in the draft. So I think if Zadarius Smith wants to come back, absolutely. I'd like to see him with Aiden Hutchinson in kind of a reduced role where he doesn't have to be the guy. Our defensive line last year was just absolutely blown up. So I think he was thriving when he was playing with Myles Garrett, because a lot of people are focused their eyes and attention and their game plan on Myles Garrett. You come to Detroit, a lot of offensive coordinators are focusing their attention and their effort and their time on Aiden Hutchinson. You might forget about Zadarius Smith on the other side. Quietly had 9 sacks last year. I mean, I understand why the Lions made the move to save some cap space, but if he's willing to come back on a team-friendly deal for 1 or 2 years, he might be a top priority. But if I have to bring in someone brand new, I'm good with either Bosa or DeMarcus Lawrence. I think they just add some more depth, because I do not want to have another season like last year, William. I just can't watch that anymore. So
I wrote on my board, dream scenario for tomorrow is we go grab Calais Campbell, right? We go grab Zadarius Smith, we go grab Kevin Zeitler, and then we go to the NFL draft, right? And there's other guys that I want, but they're pieces that don't have to happen immediately. I want Patrick O'Connor. I felt like he was a good piece to have on the roster. If he needs to step up and play some games, he can stand in and take care of some business. Dan Skipper is just a Detroit Lion through and through. I would like to see him get signed and take care of business. But those aren't guys that I absolutely 100% have to have. That's just the icing on the cake, right? But my dream scenario for tomorrow or tonight, it ain't got to be tomorrow, Brad. If you can get it done tonight before I go to sleep, I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? Go get me Calais Campbell. Go get me Zadarius Smith. Go get me Kevin Zeitler. I feel like it shores up some things. It allows us to have a draft where we pretty much do whatever we want to do. And the pieces that we draft in a draft don't have to jump on the field immediately. Offensively, there's a couple of guys out there, but it's just not the priority.
Yeah, I'm pretty much set. Like if we can add a couple more pieces, fantastic. Like you said, it's just icing on top of the cake. I'm good with a lot of names that are out there. There's no one that I absolutely say, I don't want this guy at all. Like these are NFL players. Brad's going to make the right signings. He's not going to take any risks or gambles. Like he might gamble a little bit on the contract, length and amount, but I trust Brad. He's going to do the right thing. Look, sometimes people just got to call on Brad Holmes. All right. When you need him, you just got to, sometimes he's just the hero you need sometimes.
Oh my goodness.
Sometimes heroes just enjoy to watch other heroes, Will. So there's no one out there that I'm really like screaming or saying stay away from the Detroit Lions. There's some names out there I'm interested in. But at this point, I think all the big dogs are mostly signed. So we're just going to be looking to add some depth. And, we got 7 picks in this draft. I was telling you earlier, got plenty of ammunition in some spots where we can maneuver and leave this draft with 3 to 4 really, 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 really good pass rushers or just role players in general, depending on their position. So I'm excited. We're starting to see the tip of the iceberg kind of unfold here a little bit, seeing what the plan is. And, we'll talk some names accordingly going the rest of the year. So anything else for tonight, Will?
Can't wait till tomorrow or tonight, man, to see what else is going to happen, man. That's all I got.
Stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.